Everybody, I'm Riva. Welcome back to the podcast. So I also am guilty of having trackers because I'm in research and I love data, and I feel like we can never have too much data. But I'm also Canadian, so I also worry about privacy a lot. But today's podcast is mostly about how we interpret all of this different data that we have every day, and are we getting obsessed? Is it causing us to be hyper vigilant or just constantly worrying about our scores and our metrics? And does it actually affect us or cause us more stress than actually help us?
I remember when we first started tracking, we were competing against each other on who had better scores.
Yeah, we still compete with each other who have better scores. So for me, I felt that when I first got my Oura ring was really when I first started looking at my health information, and I really loved it because it was measuring my sleep score, it was measuring stress levels and taking my body temperature and doing all these other things that I wasn't getting with my Apple Watch. And I kind of became a bit obsessed with it. If I got a bad sleep score one night, I felt like I needed to change something. It was actually causing me to be a bit more anxious. That the next day, when I go to bed the next night, it was making me feel like I needed to do something different. But after taking a step back and just looking at the data and then kind of understanding what these devices do, I realized that it's not about that one-off score that was not great. It's actually about an overall trend in your health. And the whole point of these devices is to help you to identify, what your current scores are. What is your heart rate variability telling you? Is that a direct measure of how much stress you're having? Is it showing that your body is not recovering from your workouts, or what is it really telling you? And I think my first issue with the devices was I didn't understand what all these scores were trying to say. And when I started looking at the trends over time, I got a much better picture of what my health was, and made me understand having 1 week of a bad sleep score didn't really matter.
So it's almost like what you're saying here is it's always important to look at the long game, the tail of the data, rather than obsessing over really like one bad day or a couple of bad days when you get the results.
Yeah.
And why can what can it cause people to do, or what would you heard that happens with people when they get really, really obsessed over a couple of days of bad data? What sort of rabbit hole people can dive into that's probably not a good thing for them?
Yeah, so people can get frustrated, and for instance, working out, right? Like, I always look at how many calories I'm burning. Am I burning enough calories? Am I burning more calories than I'm eating? And that can make you get really frustrated if you feel like you're not hitting the goal you want. You could either start working out extra, end up hurting yourself, or you stress out so much and you just give it up. You're just like, well, I'm never going to get there, so I might as well just stay in bed and watch TV. But I feel like that's not really the point of these devices. They just want to help you to make lifestyle adjustments. And so I think people get very anxious about making the right adjustments. Like, am I doing the right thing? Some people get frustrated, but some people get very focused. Like you get more focused on finding solutions. You might go online, look things up to try to find a way to improve your scores or get better numbers. But yeah, I think most people just get very anxious about it.
So that would be so you have two sides of the coin. So one side of the coin is some people might want to take this as too competitive and get too anxious, depressed, maybe get down on themselves if they are not improving in certain part of the sleep tracker score. And then there's the other side of the coin where some people might be more encouraged, start having better healthy habits. I could speak for myself. When I was looking at my 8 sleep mattress cover where I saw I was snoring for like 7 hours
Oh, yeah.
a night. And now with my sleep alarm, when I use that health tracker, it detects that yes, I was snoring for 6 plus hours, but it's mostly when I was lying on my back. But the recommendation was to lie on your side and then reduce snoring, and that really actually works. Now I snore far less than I used to, and that came from the sleep tracker that I have on the sleep alarm. So I think it's like that kind of that I think is where we probably want to encourage people to go, is use the sleep tracker as a way to modify your bad habits or some bad data, and then improve that by building some really good habits to improve your health.
Yeah, plus they also just bring you to having more self-awareness, right? Like if you didn't, when I tell you snore, you don't believe me. So I mean, having the proof on your devices that like, hey, I'm snoring this much, and then that actually translates into your blood tests as well. Sometimes I know for me, when I work out a lot, sometimes when I'm tracking it, I feel like, oh, I didn't do enough, and I go extra. I think my blood test had shown me that I was doing too much. Do you remember? So sometimes it's just also awareness. And these devices, they just help you to be more aware of how your body is responding to things, and where you might need to make some changes. I like that most of the devices have recommendations. Like, I know those were helpful in just controlling how you make those changes in your life.
Yeah, and I think it's really using these health trackers to find consistency, because I think that's another problem I've noticed with some of these health trackers. I have maybe like 6 plus, and some of them are really, really off, and some of them are more accurate. And you basically use the ones that you find are more accurate. Never rely on just one. I think one can be really lead you down the wrong path. So it's like when you go to a doctor, you get the first opinion. It's always good to get a second opinion. I think using these sleep trackers is a good way to get like a second opinion or a third opinion. Probably don't go so overboard like me. But get like at least 2 trackers to have consistency and find out that the data is actually accurate. And I think once you have that, these devices now have a lot of AI coaching and recommendations that's baked in, and using that is probably more important than the actual results, because then you can make changes in how your body is improving or can be improved. And so that to me is like the more powerful part of these health trackers, rather than just anchoring on the basic results. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I had a question from what you were saying. You were just talking about, recommending people have multiple devices, but these devices are kind of expensive. And I don't think everyone can afford to have more than one. So, you were saying having multiple devices can let you know which one is more accurate. But, a lot of us don't actually have that many devices. I mean, I'm married to a tech person. That's probably the only reason I have multiple devices. So is there a recommendation then? Because if I only have my Apple Watch, which most people only have one device to track their health, then how do you know the information is accurate?
Yeah, I would say do your research. I would say steer away from companies that are not so well known. Sleep tracking requires a lot of programming and training before it becomes accurate. Some of the newer companies might not have the extensive training for the data to be accurate. I would say Apple gives you a really good basic overview of your health. I don't think it goes really in depth like some other companies out there. My 2 personal favorites that I think really gives good insights on your health. I think the Oura Ring does a fantastic job for health tracking. Specifically, the cardiovascular age is really accurate. I love that data. I love the data there with the stress level. You can see when, and you can notice this too, your matches of your actual feeling. You can see when your body is really experiencing a lot of stress, you behave differently that day or that moment. And when you're not experiencing a lot of stress, you actually behave differently in that moment. I think Oura does a really good job at showing the trends of stress over time. And Apple does a really good job of just tracking like activity fitness and baking that into your overall health. So the two I would recommend is the Apple Health Watch as well as the Oura Ring. A third one, if you have the budget and looking to get a third opinion from one of the health tracker, the 8 Sleep, which is very expensive, so this is probably like the premium. The 8 Sleep does a really good job at sleep tracking, along with things that you can actually do to improve your sleep and health. So the 8 Sleep provides like the cooling and warming overnight to maximize sleep. Most of these health trackers are just telling you information, and the 8 Sleep goes a level up, where it helps you like improve your health by providing the cooling and warm sleeping temperature. So first, Apple Watch, second, Oura Ring, and third, if you have the budget, the 8 Sleep bed.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, I agree with the Apple Watch. I think it's a very easy and basic one to understand because the data is definitely presented in a way that you can understand it, versus like those athletic ones that we were seeing. Those ones are much more hard to understand what some of that data means. I do like the Apple Watch if you're starting your health tracking journey. I do love the Oura Ring personally. As a female, I prefer the Oura Ring a lot because it helps me to determine, my stress levels, but also it kind of tells you if there's something going on at various time points in your cycle. If you are into cycle tracking, I think it's very helpful because I learned a lot about my own fitness as my cycle phases change. So I think that's also one of the reasons I like the Oura Ring. It tells you your sleep, it tracks your workouts, it tracks your cycle, it tracks your overall health. And one thing I really, really appreciate about my Oura Ring is that it also has this symptom tracker built in. And I remember when I first saw the alert a year ago, I was not well, and I saw the alert the day before that there were symptoms. I'm like, I'm feeling fine, I don't have any symptoms. But yeah, the ring picked up changes in my body that I didn't even start experiencing. So I thought that was really great. So that's why I think Oura is a really good choice.
And what's your opinion on 8 Sleep? I know those are really expensive, but you've been using the 8 Sleep for over a year now. What's your take on that?
I like the 8 Sleep because it helps with the temperature control. I like that when I'm asleep, if I'm hot, it will just adjust.
The autopilot.
Yeah, I don't think the sleep tracking kind of lines up with the Oura Ring, because sometimes I get a higher sleep score on the 8 Sleep, but when I look at my ring, it shows that I woke up a few times in the night, and so I have a lower score on my Oura Ring. So for me personally, yeah, I like the 8 Sleep for the comfort, but I think for me better sleep, what kind of matches how I feel when I wake up the next day is my Oura Ring.
Yeah, I think again, Oura, if you're watching this podcast, is not sponsored by Oura. But if you want to sponsor the podcast, feel free to drop an email. I would have to say the Oura Ring is really remarkable because you actually can wear that all day, every day. Battery life is fantastic. Whereas maybe the other trackers, like my Apple Watch, I don't sleep with it. I find it uncomfortable to sleep with. Whereas the 8 Sleep, you can only get health tracking when you're sleeping. So I think hands down, maybe the Oura Ring might be the most powerful sleep tracker of the year, or health tracker. Apple Watch is just nice to have, but it's more affordable. So it's all gonna be dependent on each individual. But if you want my hot take, I'll probably say the Oura Ring more than anything else is probably the best sleep or best health tracker of the year.
I guess I converted you.
Yeah. All right, guys. So pretty much that's the wrap on this podcast here. We are looking for more ideas. So leave a comment below if there's any specific disease and any specific topic that is out there in terms of the health news that you want us to discover or talk about. Please drop that in the comments below. And as always, these are our personal opinion. Always seek medical professional when making decisions about your health. We are just here to package it, discuss it, and share our opinion. I'll pass it over to Riri if there's any final thoughts.
Yeah, and I just wanted to remind everybody that yes, definitely talk to your healthcare provider about any life, illness, medical disease, medical conditions, all of those decisions before making any changes. And we hope that this podcast can have opened the discussions for some of these topics or help you to begin the conversation with your own healthcare providers.
All right. We will see you on the next podcast.